Hi guys, welcome back to my garden area. I have been putting this video off because this was not the year for me and my garden. And it's very sad and kind of on the depressing side, really. And I almost just didn't make this video, but again, like I mentioned last month when I didn't want to make that video, I just want it for the records, for the knowledge, for the whatever it is. And so here we go. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider liking my channel. And if you have any tips or tricks on how to do better next year, I would greatly appreciate them. Sorry I have my sunglasses on. The sun is behind a cloud, but it is still bright, and I couldn't quit squinting trying to make this video. So I am looking at you, I promise. Okay, let's get this started. We are starting actually down in the vegetable garden. Usually we start up with the flowers around the house, but so this has been a very hot summer, not nearly as hot as what my aunt and uncle have been in southern Oklahoma, but hot nonetheless, especially for this part of the country. So at one point last month, our temperature we had broke 100. We were like at 101, I think. Our heat index was 121. My aunt, who lives in southern Oklahoma, man, that truck was loud. Anyway, my aunt who lives in southern Oklahoma, that day they were 106. Their heat index was 114. So we were hot. I mean, and unfortunately around here, school had started. So the kids were in school during this, which was a good thing in one sense because they were in an air-conditioned building. But oh my gosh, it was miserable. And we were that way for a week. But all summer long, we've been hovering around that, but our heat index has just been through the roof. So my wheelbarrow here looked amazing when I first planted it out this spring, and this is what it looks like now. The weeds have come in, and I have weed-eated more than once, and they keep taking over. So I think I just gave up. I got tired of it, I guess. Sometimes you just have to call it a loss because nothing was growing except weeds. So we've lost the garlic bed to weeds. I need to get out here and do something. But again, my husband and I have plans on changing this up potentially for next year. So I started, as you can see, lining the walkways with cardboard and then mulching. And unfortunately, the weeds are even taking over. Oh, I almost fell. The weeds are even taking over on where the cardboard is and the mulch all is. It's kind of just a lost cause. So this was a bed of tomatoes, and I did have some. I actually got one harvesting of tomatoes, and all the rest have pretty much either been the grasshoppers have eaten, or else they've gone to the chickens. It just wasn't a year. There was something about this year that was. I am right now kind of ankle high in weeds, and it's just not fun. Every bed I have has been taken over by the weeds, and I have to get out of the weeds. Unfortunately, there isn't anything to show. I mean, I've got a pepper plant here. No peppers, like none. This was a bed that was peppers, no peppers. We've got the plants, no peppers. That is tomatoes. We had tomatoes. Again, either the bugs ate them or that was peppers right through there. We've got the plants, no peppers. These two beds here were potatoes that never got harvested. That was my fault. This bed here pretty much produced everything that I fed to the chickens, except there is one fennel that I mean, that's a fennel bulb thing. I don't even know. I had one and didn't do anything with it like I was supposed to. Therefore, that's what it looks like. That was tomatoes. And again, we did have some tomatoes. And I did get one tomato harvest, but it made I think I made pizza sauce out of it. I do have parsley here that I can come and harvest, and I do have sage and a few little chives, and that is all that I really have gotten out of my garden this year. Like, super, super, super sad. I think this is part of the problem. I really think part of the problem is in 2020 when I started this garden, I started it on my yard. This was part of the yard. I used to mow it. So I think I just have been fighting a losing battle. So the plans are, which they may change, plans are we're going to pull up all these landscaping timbers and we are going to start fresh. We are going to come in with a bunch of gravel and just gravel the heck out of this. Go ahead and spray some weed killer and try and burn it off and get the weeds killed the best we can. Then we'll lay the gravel, obviously. And then we will come in with new raised beds and new soil. So as of right now, that's where it stands. The beds are no longer going to be 2 by 16. They're going to be 4 by 8 beds. And there's a lot of work that's involved, plus the fact that there's going to be a lot of work, plus it's pretty expensive. So this is a multi-year project that's going to take place, not a overnight, hey, we have a new garden. We're going to put some time, some effort. Next year will probably be a pretty small garden, some tomatoes, some peppers, and I'll actually have just very few, but we'll see what happens. So if you remember, this was a garden bed also. And I kept saying, oh, we're going to come in and we're going to plant it. And oh, we're going to do this. And I have so many plans. You can kind of see the mulch here. And where I left some newspapers in my row, we pulled up all my T-posts. In fact, I don't know where they're at right now. And I have tubs over there. We moved those tubs because they were kind of sitting where that patchy spot is right there. And we are using this for hay storage because cows got to eat too, and we needed somewhere to go with our hay. This year we bought a new baler. It is a net wrap, so we have some net wrap and some that isn't, partially because at one point in the field we ran out of the net wrap, so we had to go to twine, and some of it is pre-net wrap. So the dog, he's over there, he was eating bugs. Now he's walking around looking for more bugs, apparently. We have a huge rooster. He's mean. He attacked my mother-in-law over the weekend. We have a couple other roosters. See the green tail feather maybe? See if I can find him on the camera. I can see him in person. He's right here in front. Right here. Anyway, the roosters have got to go. I'm not going to let my kids in there. And I don't want to go in there with those dang roosters who attacked my mother-in-law over the weekend. She was watching them for us while we were gone. So, c'est la vie, and see you later, because I don't allow mean animals here. Sorry. You're cool looking and all, but I'm just not a fan. So, anyway, since we've seen the chickens throughout the year, I just figured we'd go ahead and see the chickens and ducks. They have feed, but they're acting like they're out. I got some feed here, but I'm not feeding them. I'll let my husband do it because I'm not putting up with a mean rooster. I think it'll take 2 of us. Somebody watch the stupid rooster and somebody to feed him. So we had a pretty big storm come through here last week. And my husband and I were actually watching a tree out behind our house that we were afraid was going to drop on our trucks, even though I had moved our trucks forward out of the area. And then the next morning when I came out, that tree was still standing, and we actually lost part of this tree here in the front of our house. Not really what we had expected. Looks like it just spun out. It's kind of crazy. You just never know what to expect, I guess. So here is the front beds, and pretty much all I have left is one mum in this bed. If you remember, it was kind of a triangle that goes whoop, and then you almost can't even see my mulch anymore. There are a bunch of fall bulbs, spring bulbs that you plant in the fall, planted in this area. So it'll be interesting to see if and what comes back next spring. It feels weird that we're doing this in reverse. Again, the other bed that I planted. And again, I have one mum right there that survived. I think we planted 6 mums in each of these front beds. And this dude and the other one, really, I kind of hit them with the lawnmower accidentally. Like, I didn't actually run over them with the lawnmower, but I bumped them with the lawnmower. And so they're in pretty bad shape, but they're still blooming. So it'll be interesting to see if and what fall bulbs come up out of this bed as well next year. It is so weird. I am doing this whole thing in reverse. So I cleaned up the side of the house here recently with the weed eater. And then that was a good thing because my husband and I are having to rewire the air conditioner and everything for our home remodel. Plus he was doing some stuff on his outdoor kitchen. So it was a good thing I cleaned that side up. Here is the one rose bush that we have, and he's doing pretty good. I've laid some cardboard in here, and I actually planned on coming and laying mulch, and then it got so ridiculously hot. Like the day that I did this and the day that I weed eated, it was 70 degrees, and the very next day we were 90, and after that we shot back up. So I just have cardboard laying here. It's kind of redonkulous, honestly. There's one of the mums that I planted last year. It is coming back and doing fairly well. It has not started to... Ooh, I hit cardboard and went sliding. I almost fell down. It has not started to bloom just yet, but there's a bunch of buds, as you can see, so that'll be fun and pretty. We have this marigold here that decided to just plant itself, and I got a hold of the weeds and I got them under control. And then when we've actually had some rain, which is good, plus all those hot days, I mean, these cockscomb also planted themselves. They were not here until they were, so they're really pretty, and you can see them from the road. It's gorgeous. That is my 2020 mum. Beautiful. Starting to flower. I think he's flowering just a little bit early in my honest opinion, but it's so pretty that who cares. And then we have a bunch of Conferina that seeded itself. They were actually in that pot right there last year, and apparently a bunch of seeds fell out and they planted themselves, and they look so pretty in front of my house. Pretty much all of my pots have died. I really should have gotten my watering system set back up this year. It just didn't happen. These cone flowers also potted themselves, and now the grasshoppers are eating them. So pretty. The one mum back there, he's not doing as well, but he doesn't get as much sun. He's getting shaded by the Arctic fire dogwood here, as well as the house, and he's doing okay, but he's not doing just the greatest. When we get more of our house done, I've got to bring this forward so that he doesn't mess up with the front of our house when we reside it, as well as I would like to do something like that in front of the windows down on the other end. I just haven't decided exactly what I'm going to plant. I'm not sure that this is what I want to plant. Oops. There's my hands, y'all. So it'll be interesting to see what I decide to come up with. Pretty much all of my lights that I have had in my garden, as well as the front of my house for the last few years, are all bad. You barely touch them and they fall apart. I think they're just sun-dried and everything. So we plan on replacing them next year when most of this is all cleaned up, because I still have this nasty pile of siding and shingles and whatever else from the side of my house where we re-sided it. My rose, however, is doing amazing. There's new blooms and old blooms and big blooms and small blooms. And honestly enough, the zinnias are going crazy. Like, I did not expect them to be this beautiful or do this well. And then we have mini elephant ears over there in that pot, and they're doing pretty well too. So it's kind of crazy. Now again, the side of my house looks terrible because of all the construction. And then when the heat hit, we kind of stopped construction because, I mean, you couldn't do anything out here. You lost your breath. It was terrible. We had to cut this hibiscus down. He came back. I've got a mum over there that isn't doing so hot. But hopefully after all this construction is done and next year comes, we'll be doing better. This one survived the construction. It had a ladder set on the back side of it in one place, and I actually did that accidentally. Otherwise, he's doing as good as the one in the front yard. And then this poor guy, he shouldn't even have made it this far, and he's still alive and thriving. So hopefully next year will be better for him. We have weeds like crazy. I had to cut that hibiscus down, and it's still growing even though it's under the tree and it's not getting quite the sun that it needs. My new air conditioner that's not in yet, but we're still working on it. That poor mom didn't stand a chance. It's had so many things dropped on it. And then there are many elephant ears right here that they grow, they get taken out by something, they grow, they get taken out by something. I think they have a will to live. I don't know. And then this mom, part of it got hit, as you can see on the back side, but the front side still looks really good. And then here's the other hibiscus that got cut away, and it's coming back. So I guess that tells you they're pretty hardy bushes. If you were wondering which tree we were worried about falling that night, it was this one. And I mean, the wind was whipping and howling and everything so bad, we thought we were going to lose it. And as you can tell, there's a branch right there that is a lot lower than what it was. We moved our trucks forward and out from underneath the tree, but our parking spot tends to be under this tree. It's going to be very, very, very sad when we get rid of this tree, which is very, very quickly approaching. My basil seems to be doing better, but it's also at the end of the year where it's not looking the best nor tasting the best. I need to go ahead and see what's good, what's not, and go ahead and do something with it. We lost all of the strawberry mint. We have weeds that I've actually weed-eated, but you wouldn't even know it. My mother-in-law has this pretty vine that's actually taken over, and I don't even think it was planted, but it's beautiful. These flowers, I planted some of those up there, and she planted the others. She planted these and these, and the rain has helped start bringing them back, but at the same time it's the end of the year and things are just saying, okay, I'm tired and I'm done. So for my birthday, my sister-in-law gave me some starts to her elephant ears. She named hers Ursula, so I'm going to name mine Uma. I think I mentioned that on the last video. Uma is the daughter of Ursula, if you have ever watched the Descendants movies on Disney Channel. So I named mine Uma since it's a daughter plant. I have more than one, as you can see, and she said that they'll do really well. I plan on planting it in the front of the house, but the day that I planted those right there, I needed to get them in the ground, and it was so hot that that's just where they ended up. These are tulips that come up in the spring. We have them for a short bit, and then the rest of this year they look like that. This was actually pretty, and it has some perennials in there that my daughter planted a year ago that came back this year. So it'll be fun and interesting to see if they come back. And as you can tell, all of this stuff
is in construction zone. We have a water bottle and whatever that is. It's an air conditioner piece. And we're in construction zone / we had some crazy winds that pulled stuff off our patio. So this is a pumpkin plant that planted itself. And I mean, we've got pumpkins galore. I try not to run over it with my truck because, again, I told you that my truck parks right here beside this thing. And so I make sure to swing out so that I don't take it out. But this was self-seeded. I did not plant this. We did all of our pumpkin carving here on the patio last year, and it must have just been something that fell out of that. Miss Moo has my lavender, and the lavender has died. And then this is all zinnias, and they look so terrible, but they're actually better than they were. Can you believe it or not? This thing went crazy once I got it out from underneath the house, and it's sitting out pretty much in full sunlight, which the plant itself said that it could do shade to part sun, and that's pretty much full sun. Now, being at the end of the year, we are going ahead and bolting, but I mean, come on, it's beautiful. And then there's the little dudes. They're not doing as well, but they're still there and hanging on. This is all that's left from this one, but still, I can't complain. It's still beautiful. These petunias haven't been doing as well. They're starting to come back, especially with the cooler weather. When that hot hit, man, they weren't happy. And then there's this, and it's had some issues with the heat as well. It's the heat that's doing it. Now I need to go in and figure out what is my perennials and go ahead and get them out of that pot this fall and get them planted into the ground. That is my citronella. I almost said Cilanova. Citronella plant, and it's kind of doing good, kind of not doing well, so it's just a hit and miss. And then we have this petunia thing. Now, it's in the shade most of the day. It's right here on the side of the house, so it does get quite a bit of rain when it does rain. But at the same time, it is doing really, really well because it has shade for part of the day. And as you can see, we have a cat hiding. But anyway, you never know where you're going to find my animals. They're funny. But this thing is just, I love having it right here by my back door because you walk out and you just see this beautiful thing. Okay. Finally, we have more stuff that is in construction zone. So in that pot, we actually, the green one down there, we actually had rosemary and it died, and now there's just a weed in it. This is parsley, and it's just, this was a fun little flower pot. I think if I would move it out like I did the other one, it probably would have taken off better. Even though most of that stuff said shade, I don't know, there was something about moving that other one out. It did amazing. Now this basil here, I've got some that has bolted, as you can see, but I've got a bunch that's really nice, so I need to get in here and I need to harvest the basil and do something with it. We have thyme right there. The thyme is almost getting shaded out by the basil. The basil just finally took off for some reason. And then last but not least, we have the chives. So the chives are doing pretty well as well. Chives are a perennial, so it'll be fun to see if they come back next year.